Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/idontworkherelady. So sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Actually lady, you're the one who works here. In my area we have a community garden that is run by volunteers, including me. It's pretty standard community garden rules. At the start of the season, you get assigned plot and pay. You plant things there and take care of your little garden area. If you don't plant or don't care for your plot, you lose it to the next person on the waiting list. It's the first thing of its kind in our area, and there is a pretty long waiting list. Because our garden is run by unpaid volunteers, we have been somewhat slow to contact people whose plots have not been planted. We were almost 2 months into the season before I emailed the few errant people from the first time. Almost everyone responded immediately. There was just one empty plot that remained empty after another few weeks of emails. I actually called the number of the lady who the plot was assigned to. I will call this lady Not a Gardener, or Nag for short. Nag was shocked to hear that she was in danger of losing her plot, and furious. I get it, maybe the emails weren't received. One of us should have called right away. She kept demanding to talk to the person in charge and kept asking about her vegetables and who was at fault for this negligence. I apologized again and just let her know that she needed to come and plant soon or give the plot up. I got off the phone as quickly as possible because I did not want to deal with her. I had the pleasure of meeting Nag the following weekend when I was at the garden with my 2 little kids. Nag marched over to me and with no introduction immediately started in again about the negligence and how could we be so unprofessional and where were her vegetables. She was puffy and angry and very, very rude. She wouldn't let me finish a sentence and was trying to tell me she was going to get me fired from my volunteer garden position. I was trying to calm her down, but she wouldn't let me get a few words into it before she interrupted me. Finally, to get her away from my kids, I said, "Let's go and see your plot." We walked over to the area where her plot was, and it was very clear that it was the only neglected plot in this whole garden. The other plots have many plants already growing big. You can see peppers and tomatoes starting to be ready, cucumbers climbing all over the place, and a huge variety of greens and herbs. Nag's plot is dirt and weeds. Nag basically stops dead in her tracks, sputters a bit, and then her whole tone changes. She went from being angry to wailing and crying about how could we do this to her? How could we treat her like this? What had she done to us? Was it because she was new? Because she was American? Poor her, she deserved better. What about her vegetables? She really needed her vegetables. She gets a little hysterical and starts pointing out plots that are grown and have vegetables, and demanding those. She even went as far as to try and grab a green tomato from the neighboring plot, but her heel slipped a little and she almost fell. This set her off more, and she is making quite a show, so others in the garden come over to check on her. As she wails on, I suddenly realize what is happening. Nag thought that the community garden meant that we were going to garden for her, and her fee at the start of the year is for us to plant her vegetables and care for her plot and harvest her veggies for her. She has been sitting at home all this time, expecting vegetable deliveries. I should have figured it out sooner, but all I wanted was to not deal with her, so I wasn't paying as much attention to her as I should have. Also, the garden rules are pretty clear, and when she paid, she signed an agreement to the rules. I explained it as nicely as I could to Nag. The plots are for her to plant and grow. Her small fee only covers the cost of land and irrigation system. If she wants the vegetables she's been demanding, she needs to plant them and care for them. It is her job, not ours. She is the one that works on her plot, not us. It takes a few tries to get this through, and luckily another volunteer is there to be with me as a backup. She of course gets angry again about how no one told her, but she signed the paperwork and it's all very clear there. I let her know there is some money left. If she wants her fee back, we'll give it to her and give her plot to the next person on the waiting list. She yelled at me, "That won't be necessary," which was funny because it's a polite sentence, but she said it in the rudest way possible, and she stomps off out of the gate and away. The next weekend, I go to the garden and surprise! Her plot is planted, and it looks great. She has a good variety, and things are done neatly. There are little paver stones to walk on, and tons of veggies. It turns out she has hired a professional gardener to do her community garden plot for her and deliver the veggies. He's the best guy. He's very nice and polite and happy to talk about why the tomatoes are dying or how to add more potassium through compost. He is willing to babysit other plots if people are on vacations. He's super friendly and it's great to run into him. He has set out seedlings for anyone to take a number of times as well. I am so happy to not have to see Nag ever again, and instead we have an awesome new friend. I wonder if it would have been cheaper to just go to the farmer's market and get them there, but I guess it's a bit of a pride thing, really. I don't work here anymore. I used to work at a fast food chain in Canada that focuses primarily on their coffee during the summer. The restaurant was in a rather rough neighborhood, and thus the customers were sometimes rude. There was one specific lady, we'll call her Coffee Karen or CK, that would come in just about every single day of the week, at the same time, and would order a large double coffee. Coffee Karen would then drink, take a sip of the coffee, swirl it, and then look at whomever had just made the coffee and say, "That tastes disgusting, make it again." Of course, we were always super careful to make sure there wasn't anything to complain about, so it was absolute BS that the coffee should taste any worse than usual. We'd make the same coffee over again, stupid company policy, often from the same pot of coffee, and she'd taste it and say, "Much better." It sucked, and we wasted so much coffee over this one woman. Even though she did this every single day, the job was super mind-numbing and I never said anything about it. About a month after, I quit and got a better part-time job. I went to the restaurant to get tea and also to say hello to some of my old co-workers. Just my luck, Coffee Karen is there, doing her usual lines. There is a new employee who hasn't been warned about her. The poor girl makes the mistake of calling her BS and is subjected to Coffee Karen's full temper tantrum. I'm right behind her in line, and for some reason she decides to rope me into the screaming fit as well, saying that all of us employees were terrible, rude people that wanted to screw up her day because she was poor and couldn't afford to tip. I really wasn't about to get yelled at, and it's not like she could talk to the manager about me, so I told her off. I told her that she was wasting their time, wasting coffee, and that if she cared so much about her coffee and saving money, she should make it herself at home. She asked to talk to the manager and she'd seen me behind the counter, and I got to hear my manager tell her she doesn't work here anymore. That was so satisfying. That is like every retail worker's dream, isn't it? Just to be able to tell the awful person off. I don't work here, Chief. As a sailor, just having a uniform puts you in an awkward spot whenever someone above you gives you an order to do something that isn't really your job, but then becomes your job, because we have to obey lawful orders. Because then everything becomes your job when you have a swinging douche constantly making you do things for him, generally speaking. But I usually do what I'm told with a grain of salt like I'm supposed to and avoid stirring trouble. Higher enlisted and officers can give orders to really anyone below them, but are supposed to be mindful of the chain of command of the individual. Some people disregard that and abuse their rank, as I found out. This happened back when I was in E4. A couple of years after I got to my first ship, I found out that one of my A school friends was stationed on the ship next to mine. So I went to let him guide me in touring his ship one day, as we both got off a little early that day. As I passed through the control, a senior chief, E8, asked us what the heck do we think we're doing. I had no idea what context he was going off of, so I said, "Oh, hey senior, just touring the ship." The senior said, "Shipmate," which I hate. "I don't care if you're new, it's duty section cleanup." Me, chuckling, "Oh, no, I'm not part of the duty section. I'm not even part of this." Let me stop you right there. It would behoove you, I hate this phrase, to not sass back a chief. My heart sank because it was then that I knew what type of person this was, a man-child. "Senior, he's not part of this ship. I'm not on duty either. I'm giving him a tour." "I don't believe you. Who are your chiefs? Let them tell me that. Who actually tours other ships in their free time?" To be fair, that was a good question. I should have just went home like everyone else. I told Senior Chief my division chief's number, and he saw my ship's emblem on my phone card. "You're good at skating, aren't you? You even have another ship's phone card." Jesus Christ, this dude. "Come with me to my office. You too," pointing at my friend. My friend whispered to me on the way, "I am so sorry, this guy is a freaking jerk." He calls my chief. My chief thankfully picks up. My chief is a good chief and verified that I am me, that I was from another ship and that I was released for the day. Checks out. You're going to participate in duty section cleanup before you go, since you tracked dirt onto my ship. You can't be serious. He scolded us again for sassing him. I was going to sneak off, but this senior chief stood behind me with a flashlight, watching every movement of my hand and sponge. I only cleaned for about 20 minutes. Friend did too, even though he wasn't even part of the duty section, as the one MC, announcing circuit, secured duty section cleanup. Senior went back to control, angrily shouting and throwing a tantrum. For what, I have no idea. We didn't give him another chance to talk to us. We knew he was going to come for us. We freaking took our chance and bailed. How dense can a person be? I know good chiefs and some bad ones. This senior chief was by far the worst chief I've ever known. I asked my chief if people outside my chain of command can just order me to clean up, and he explained. Technically, yes, but that is ridiculously freaking stupid. My chief was outraged that he took advantage of me for no reason and told our department chief what happened. Our department chief supposedly got a hold of this senior chief, who was also a department chief, and called him out for being a jerk. I never toured other ships again, and I became less of a dig it over time. My friend and I still play video games together. We lived happily ever after. It's always awful when someone in a position of power it gets to their head, because they always end up being like this. "I don't work here, leave me alone. I just want tater tots." I'm standing in the frozen food aisle at Safeway, staring blankly at tater tots and trying to wake up when I get this annoyed ahem. I look over and there she stands, the classic Karen, hairdo and all. Still not awake, I'm like, sorry. I'm standing in front of something she wants, so I move out of the way. I get ahem again, so I go, what? She says, "Are you just going to stand there, or are you going to help me?" I say, "Help you what?" She yells at me, "Don't be so rude and help your customers. What aisle is chai tea in?" I tell her, "Lady, I don't work here." This Karen goes ballistic, shrieking at me and losing her mind, accusing me of lying to her, demanding that I shouldn't treat customers that way, and demands to speak to my manager. I tell her to leave me alone, I'm a customer just like you. She continued to harpy me, saying that you millennials are all alike, too lazy to do your job. I'm 40. I go, woman, I'm wearing an oversized Air Force hoodie with sweatpants and freaking fluffy house slippers. What the heck makes you think I work here? She glares at what I'm wearing, and right at that moment, an actual employee rounded the corner. You could literally see the exact moment that she realized she was a moron. She huffed and quickly ran away. To be fair, I'm pretty sure some of the oldest millennials are almost 40 now. I'm not sure of the exact ages, but I'm pretty sure they're getting there. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.